Proudfoot's win in Illinois puts him ever closer to making it back-to-back championships. Dramatic circumstances will have to unfold in the remaining rounds for it to slip away from him. But as we know, dirt racing can be unpredictable. Let's see if the racing gods smile upon him at Lanier as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the Bootleg Racing League's Dirt Street Stock Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Lanier's dirt version in iRacing is something of a nod to the circuit's roots. Let's head to our track guide to learn more.
Lanier National Speedway, now known as Lanier Raceplex, finally started seeing racing action again a few years ago. Before the track went silent in 2011, it was a common feature on touring short track series schedules across the southeastern United States. But today, we harken back to an age before Lanier was even paved. Lanier was originally built as a 3/8 mile dirt oval back in 1982, and it saw plenty of weekend dirt track action with your late models and street stocks. As open-wheel dirt track racing became more popular across the Southeast, the world of outlaws, sprint cars even made some trips here in the mid-'80s. Midgets and sprints, USAC Silver Crown, they all took their turns. But alas, Lanier was paved in 1987. But thankfully, in the world of iRacing, we can harken back to the days where the cushion and tire stagger were king and put modern dirt racing vehicles back onto Lanier. It's time to sling some mud in Georgia.
DJ, it's another tiny track, but this time we've got a lot more walls around it.
We certainly do, Joe, and those walls will catch you if you're not keeping an eye for everything, especially considering the fact that Lanier tends to be a little bit more of a top-heavy track. That 11-degree banking is progressive. Coming up around the outside means that you can carry some good momentum along that high side, but we heard guys talking last week that those who have the guts can run low. There normally tends to be a narrow strip of moist dirt down on the inside right up against the interior retaining wall that guys can get some good speed off of. The only catch is that on the dive into turn 1 and coming through turns 3 and 4, there are gaps in that interior retaining wall to dive into the pits, and we've seen guys get caught out by that, and let's just say go for a little ride by catching their left front on it. So we'll have to keep an eye on how that plays out. As always, though, it is always going to come down to reading the track and figuring out where is fastest. So the guys who have the best eye for that and the best feel for the car, well, they're going to be the ones at the front of the field.
Yeah, we've seen a few clip that inside wall in our coverage of this track, but let's take a glance at the championship, which is actually separated quite a bit because Hargraves did not attend last week. Brandon Proudfoot now a full 96 points ahead of not Hargraves, but J.R. Shepard, who gets promoted up. But there's only 2 rounds left after today, and it's 84 points max. So while I don't believe we're likely to see Brandon be able to clinch the championship, he can definitely put himself in a position to make it a foregone conclusion after tonight, unless something crazy happens. What about the race details, though? What are you expecting for tonight here, DJ?
Well, as you mentioned, we are on the 8th of 11 rounds, running those dirt street stocks like we always do. And the heat race format tonight, well, drivers are out on track for a 20-minute practice session. That'll be followed by a 5-minute or 4-lap solo qualifying session. After that, we get into the heat races themselves. Now, those will be 6 laps apiece, and the top 3 will automatically advance into the A main. All other drivers will be relegated to the B main, and because of a relatively low field count tonight, everybody's going to make it into the A main. Once everything is said and done, that B main will just determine starting order. Once we do get to the A main, that's going to be 40 laps, and that is the only time that we will see the yellow flag get thrown tonight. Other things to keep in mind, it's a fixed setup, so it's all down to driver's skill. And in that A main, drivers do get the use of a spare car if they're able to get back into the pits quick enough.
With all the walls so close, I wonder if we'll see a few that have to duck on in and take that. A little bit of a smaller field here today as it currently stands, though we do have time in the warm-up if we get a few others that want to attempt things. About 5 minutes left to be exact. right now, Billy Northcutt is actually quicker than Brandon Proudfoot by a little less than a tenth. So that could give us some interesting fun. So we haven't seen the greatest of qualifying from Brandon Proudfoot in recent weeks, but then he tends to come back in the race itself. We're on board with John Wilson, though, sitting in fourth, trying that high line that you're talking about. I'm wondering at what point will we maybe see it start to come back down low, though, because it looks like they are starting to encroach upon that outside wall, DJ.
Yeah, it's starting to push up the track a little bit, and now we jump on board down low there, and you can see with Seneca, you can see what I was talking about, that narrow strip of good moist dirt. Now, the trick with that is you really want to hook your left side tire down onto that good patch and then let the rear tires run through the slick, and that'll get you a really good line through the corner. Wilson there ahead showing us a good example of a slide job that I think will also be very effective out here tonight.
As we mentioned, this is how this track used to be before it was paved, but that was quite a long time ago. So this is obviously a little bit of iRacing taking liberties with things, but still gives us a feel of what maybe dirt racing could have been like back in those days. Right now, Proudfoot's back out on the track, second place in the timing sheets. Wonder if he can maybe go that little bit quicker to try and take a little ego out of the double aught. We're looking at the 22 on screen once again.
Yeah, obviously a special paint scheme for the 22 here tonight. It's not exactly surprising he's not able to go faster. We normally tend to see these guys set their fast times early in the session, but Proudfoot getting a good example of how to run in some traffic here. Brandon clearly favoring that low line. There's that gap I talked about diving into turn one. He's closing up on the back of Robinson, Seneca, and Wilson.
Obviously, with everybody going through quite easily, I'm wondering how tonight's going to play out, if the pressure is going to be off a little bit, fewer cars to try and overtake, maybe more risks in the early one, just knowing that they can afford to fall backwards and come back through in the later races. What are you anticipating, DJ?
You know, this is a track that I think you're going to see some decent amount of passing at, especially with what we're seeing now, that really two lanes seem to be pretty good here, running high and low, as Wilson and Proudfoot are giving us a great example of. I also think that slide job, like we saw Wilson throwing earlier, can be particularly effective. So I don't think qualifying is going to be as majorly important as it was, let's say, at Weed Sport earlier this year. So it could just be some good racing out on track and really use those qualifying and heat races to just get a feel for the car.
Once again, checking out Proudfoot here. Boy, a lot of hand movement for him tonight, though. Definitely trying to wheel that thing around. Don't have anybody to watch tonight, but we at least get to watch here the virtual hands of the 22. Still waiting for the rest of the clock to tick away, with only 11 cars still signed up at this stage. Seen a couple that are lacking some laps. Haven't seen Christopher Schaefer out there in a bit, as he's one of them that is currently sitting in pit lane. We're just waiting for him to put himself onto the circuit. So, as I was saying, DJ, at this point, it's all done bar the shouting. Proudfoot has got himself a pretty clear path towards the championship. J.R. Shepard, he's been quick. Is this a good opportunity for him to really get aggressive, maybe see if he can finally get that win?
It very well could be, and I think for JR and even Northcutt and Hargraves, the thing to really pick up on is something that I heard Brandon Proudfoot say during our interview last time out. Brandon's a real rhythm driver. That's why we've seen him struggle a little bit in qualifying, and sometimes he just needs some time to build into that rhythm. And so if I'm Shepard, if I'm Hargraves, if I'm Northcutt, that's going to stick in my brain, and what I'm going to be trying to do is throw Brandon off the rhythm. Maybe throw some unexpected sliders on him, make him change his lineup a little bit, get under his skin ever so slightly. We haven't seen a lot of guys really try to do that recently, but that may be the way to really dethrone that number 22.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that being valuable information. especially for the top of the fields, if they want to try and use whatever edge they can. It is a mental game, racing, and so they've got to try and get into the psychology of their competitors if they can't find the speed to try and overtake them. Still watching Proudfoot and John Wilson here. Wilson maybe taking a few notes. He's gone up to 4th on the timing sheets as we now watch from his on board. Getting awful close to that outside wall, maybe just giving it a little glance here in the final few seconds of our warm-up session. That's going to tick down to 0, so we just get ready to start our qualifying. Again, it is 4 laps that they have to try and set a good time, and it will be their best counted. This is not an average or anything fancy like that, just your quickest one to set your starting order according to what heat you get slotted into. Looks like I see Schaefer, one of the first ones out, actually.
Yeah, indeed, there goes Chris out onto the track, just taking a nice soft start. You talked about Wilson running very wide on the exit of turn 2. That is the fastest line, especially if you're taking the high side, but it does come with a lot of reward. You tap the wall. Oh, there's that barrier.
I don't think that's the right line through there. And he's backing it up. I would have thought he'd maybe try and just tow it to the pits and start over his qualifying. Now he finally does. Hargraves is already out there. He returns to try and see if he can beat Proudfoot once again. Been a while since he's managed to overtake him, and he does 1 lap and quits, a 16.7.
We've seen Hargraves take that strategy before, run a quick lap, dive back into the pits, and kind of see where everybody else is at. And truth be told, it's proved him well. There goes Brandon Myers coming into 5th place. Ryan Seneca able to improve on his previous time, able to jump up to a 16.8, it looks like, but not good enough to go any faster. Here comes Schaefer avoiding that inside barrier this time, and he's going to try to go for a lap.
Also see Bobby Hayes out there. He's a teammate of Proudfoot, who can sometimes challenge him. His first lap, a 16.794. That'll put him into 3rd. That's not too bad.
No, it's not. And look at that time for Billy Northcutt doing the same thing as Hargraves did, ducking out of the first lap, but only 0.006 of a second off of that number 71.
Ooh, yeah, it is tight at the top. 0.5 tenth between Bobby Hayes and Northcutt as well. As we watch Billy come around and off of the final corner. Let's see what his second lap is. Well, it's not going to count. He must have tapped the wall. He'll get 2 more shots at this.
There you see Bobby Hayes unable to go any faster as well, but he's in 3rd. That's a good run for Bobby Hayes. Northcutt trying this again, runs it on a low line this time, able to improve by a couple of hundredths of a second, and that's going to put him up to P1.
And it looks like he abandons the last lap. He's happy with that one. Hargraves is still stationary, but waiting to see what else will go down. Brandon Proudfoot's finally out there. His first lap is 16.755. There is 3 1,000ths between our top 3, but make J.R. Shepard our pole sitter now.
Hoi, oi, oi, an amazing time from JR, and that's still less than 1/10 of a second separating the top 5. JR unable to go faster on that second lap, but holy Moses, this top 5 is close.
There is currently 3 100ths splitting 1st through 4th. Make that 7 100ths 1st through 5th. 2 of them are still in pit lane. 3 of them are in pit lane, actually, as Hargraves is also in there. Northcutt is done. Hayes is done. So we're seeing if Proudfoot can go any quicker on this last attempt as he crosses the line. No, a 16.9. He's going to start from 4th. Apparently, he has not been able to fight that qualifying bug that continues to plague him. Shepard did not improve either, but he doesn't need to. He still has the top spot. Hargraves could come back out. He's got enough time to take his final 3 laps, and here he goes.
All right, William Hargraves, recognizing the time is nigh, gets himself out on track with that orange and blue 71 machine, lines it up. Let's see what he's got.
So this one's going to be an outlap. It will not count for him. Now he starts a flyer, though. Tries the low line. He likes what he sees down there. The 71 drifting it all the way up to the high side. He has to make up a quarter of a tenth of a second to get to the pole, around the corner, and to the line one more time. It's a 16.701. That'll do it ahead of Shepard. He's got the pole back at the first time of asking.
Oh, man, putting it in under hard pressure for Hargreaves. He's going to go again. Let's see if he's got any more speed to give. Does it on that third lap.
Proudfoot wasn't able to take anything as he kept going around in his final few. But that ends our qualifying, which was probably one of the most fascinating qualifyings we have watched yet. The poles swapping back and forth between multiple drivers before eventually it went to Hargreaves. But J.R. Shepard, is this going to be the one finally? He'll start on the front row on the pole of his heat, but we'll get to that in a little bit because first we have to get to Hargreaves' heat, which is just populating now. So, very small set of heats today, only 2 of them, and Hargreaves starts in the top spot of the first one. Billy Northcutt will be in second, and then Bobby Hayes rounds out the first half of the field.
Behind Bobby Hayes is going to be Robbie Robinson in 5th, with Christopher Schaefer bringing up the back of the field in 6th place.
Okay, so all of them are already out there. We should see the pace car take off. Northcutt, is he going to be able to do something on that high side to carry the momentum to get around Hargreaves on that first lap, or is the bottom line still going to work pretty well before they are fully up to speed? They'll get 2 pace laps, and then they'll be sent on their way.
And indeed, we normally see that high line start to come in about midway through turn 1, not really down off of the line, though, when they come in, as it tends to really, really favor the low line, and the leader he'll be able to dictate where they get the jump.
And as usual, only 3 of these drivers will automatically go to the feature. The rest will be sent to the consolation, which means it'll be split perfectly in half. 6 go to the feature and 6 go to the consolation. So if you automatically go through, you'll start in the top half of the field. Here goes the pace truck, ducking in. Hargreaves on it early. Green flag is out. He doesn't have to try and hold him off down into the first corner because he is, nearly gets into the wall. In fact, he clipped that cone. He drifts up high off the corner. Northcutt tries to go underneath him. Can he get the slider down into here? Yes, he can.
A little bit of contact between the 2 of them there, Joe. Yeah, Hargreaves definitely took a big hit on that inside retaining wall. The car's a little bit damaged. Northcutt taking prime advantage of it. Hargreaves looking a little bit squirrely coming off of the line. I wonder just how much damage that car's taken.
William nearly took himself out of contention in the very first corner of the first heat of the night. Now he's got to work hard to try and get the lead back. Behind them, Bobby Hayes is the last to advance as they sit, but he's got John Wilson threatening on his outside.
Yeah, Wilson running a very good high line there. Every time we see Hargreaves looking like he's got a little bit of an advantage mid-corner, but Northcutt able to just carry a little bit more momentum on corner exit.
Hopping on board now with the 71, looking ahead at the double aught and keeping Billy Northcutt honest. A little bit of the wall there, gonna slow him up as they come down into turn 1 once again.
Yeah, not really able to do much. Any of that crossover we saw not helping out Hargreaves, but he does set the fastest lap of the race on that last time out. Here comes the white flag for our leaders, though.
Northcutt may have started on the outside of the front row, but he made great use of that first corner. Unless we get a wild dive from Hargreaves, this one is Northcutt's to lose. It's looking good, and he's got it. Billy Northcutt wins the first heat of the night. Hargreaves comes home second. Hayes in third. It looks like Wilson, Robinson, and Schaefer will go to the consolation as we switch on over to the next heat of the evening. And up at the top of this one, it is going to be J.R. Shepard. Brandon Proudfoot starts in P2, and Seneker will start third.
Joe Segala is going to be fourth, followed by Brendan Myers in fifth.
So we've got all of them already lined up, only 5 in this one, so I was off on my counting, as it won't perfectly be half and half between them. But last time we saw the outside line do a great job of taking the lead in the first 2 corners. Do you think that's doable again, or do you think that was mostly down to the close moment with that inside wall that Hargreaves experienced?
I've got to be honest, Joe. I think that was mainly down to that moment with Hargreaves. That said, if anybody can make that outside line work to perfection there, I think it may be Brandon Proudfoot. We have seen him be successful anywhere he wants to put the car, so that's going to be a battle to watch.
Down the back stretch, and J.R. Shepard anticipating a start, looking for a heat win here to put himself on the outside of the front row for the feature. Green flag is out. Doesn't get as good of a jump as we saw from the last race. Proudfoot around his outside. The 98 a little low and a little out of grip, but he's going to hold on to it. There's some overlap between the pair of them.
There is big slide up the track for J.R. Shepard. That's going to give a little bit of room there to Proudfoot. He's going to take full advantage of it. Dives down the inside. Shepard now has to take that middle line, hoping the momentum can keep him up going around the outside. He is going to save him as they come into 3.
Still side by side down into 3 and 4. And it does look like the high line is the place to be, but barely, as he edges out Proudfoot by the smallest of margins every time they come across the timing line. Down the backstretch, once again, the 98 holding the advantage by the narrowest of margins. They're going to be halfway through here as we hit 3 to go.
Ooh, and Proudfoot got real squirrely there coming off of turn 4. That cost him some valuable time. Shepard able to get a full car with the head now. Proudfoot now really has to hustle here to try to get back at him. They both take a very similar line. Very, very aggressively there from Joe Segala coming up behind. Carried a little bit more momentum through the corner.
Don't forget about Segala there, who's going to advance from 3rd if he stays put. We're watching from on board him now, looking ahead at J.R. Shepard, or at Brandon Proudfoot, and then J.R. Shepard in front of him. Gave it the old college try, but the white flag is out. Shepard has the track position, and we haven't seen Proudfoot be able to regain enough ground to try and attack. Is this going to be a slide job? Almost looked like an attempt, but it is not there. Shepard takes heat win number 2. Proudfoot 2nd, Segala 3rd, Myers and Seneca head off to the consolation.
It's got to feel awful good for J.R. Shepard to finally get a win over his arch rival here of Brandon Proudfoot.
Absolutely, as we once again grid up immediately for the consolation. 5 cars taking part, and John Wilson will be on the pole today. Brendan Myers starts from 2nd, and Robbie Robinson starts from P3.
In P4 is going to be Ryan Seneca, and P5 will be Christopher Schaefer.
This is going to be a quick one, no doubt about that, as we've only got 10 laps here, so slightly longer, but already into the consolation. Then we get our 5-minute warm-up, and we are off into the feature for 40 laps. Some good racing so far from both of our heats. Very respectful racing, too.
Most certainly, and it's a real hallmark we're used to seeing here in the BRL series. These guys love to race hard but clean, and definitely seeing it there. I think that last heat race, a prime example between Shepard and Proudfoot. If Proudfoot wanted to get a little bit dirty, he would have thrown a slider right into the side of JR and instead backed off, and JR was able to take the win.
Pacing around for the 2nd lap, and the 75 can potentially snatch himself a victory. Let's see what he's got underneath him as the pace truck ducks away. He's waiting on it, and now he goes. Green flag is out. Pretty decent jump over the 25 down to the first corner. Once again, shallow on entry. Is this going to give a better exit to the 25? No. Myers has to settle for 2nd, Robinson in 3rd, and they're challenging for the last spot between Seneca and Schaefer.
Yeah, it looks like Schaefer caught a little bit of that inside wall there, and that'll certainly slow him down a lot. There, though, it looks like up front, Wilson really setting the pace of this race. Myers, try as he might, just not able to get anything on that 75.
It was close, but not close enough. Both of them running a middle line here, just continuing to push that embankment, the berm, up the hill as they, way too high up into it. The 25 getting up into the gunk. That's going to slow him down. Robinson now gaining.
Yeah, that's definitely what you don't want to do when running that high line. Robinson takes a little bit of a lower line there, but not able to carry the speed off of the corner. That's going to give a little bit of breathing room to Brendan Myers, but not nearly enough as he'd like.
As they all ride the cushion, very few of them trying to go low. Robinson seems to be the only one, and it gets him to the inside of that blue and yellow 25, but not past him. He's finding something, and that might be valuable information for later, but it doesn't seem to be enough of an edge to completely overtake.
No, but he seems like he's getting just a little bit closer each and every lap, so I would not be surprised here if maybe in 2 laps time, when we get down to 3, maybe 1 to go, he decides to throw a big slider. There, he's got a good jump coming across the line. This may start to shift over to Robbie Robinson.
Oh, gets wheel spin off of turn 2, so that's not going to help. Let's see if it's any better off of 4. Looking for the traction, and it isn't there. He is well into the slicked up black darkened racing line and just seems to be struggling to get the car to put the throttle down smoothly. And we've heard a lot of drivers talk about it. This is not a tire model right now that likes trying to go sideways and slip and slide around.
No, it's not. There Robinson really doesn't throw the full slider, but there's contact between him and Myers.
Just a little love tap out of the way. That seemed fair to me, and that will get him in a second. Oh, as a 25 just smacked the outside of the front stretch. That'll slow him up more, but not many laps left for Robinson to try and attack on Wilson. He's been cruising up front, and with that, the 75 takes the victory in the consolation race. Robinson, well played, up into second, Myers third, Sineker fourth, and Schaefer tail end Charlie for the consolation, which will take us to the warm-up session now so that the drivers can get used to the track if they have not been out on it for a minute. Look at that from above. Look at how it's a very symmetrical looking rubbered in line right now.
Yeah, very much is. We normally don't see that a lot from these dirt tracks. We tend to see them be a little bit different, but that'll certainly help drivers as they dive into the corners if both sides are the same.
Makes that a little bit easier to try and judge things. So, did you take anything interesting out of that, especially with the smaller field here? Anything catch your eye?
Well, the one thing, Joe, is you were saying how hard it is for some of these drivers out of the corners to get that low line working, but the one thing that may play to their advantage is the start-finish line is a little bit farther up the main straightaway than we would normally expect. It's a little bit over to closer to turn 4. So when we're looking at, the checkered flag coming out, there may be a chance that throwing something big down that inside may just pay out a little bit, and we may see drivers try to sort of pace and gauge that as this A-main goes along.
That'll be a lot of fun if we get a wild slider to try and take the victory into that feature. Hargraves looking good in the qualifying, but unfortunately in the race did not quite have the same thing. He'll get a fresh car naturally, be able to start this one without the little bit of damage that we could see in his heat earlier on.
Yeah, and that obviously caught him out. Rest assured, he'll be very, very conscious of that as we go into the A main. I would not be surprised if Hargraves, if he can, maybe sticks to the high line. Just try to avoid that altogether once we get into this feature race.
As we're watching Proudfoot, it looks like he's trying that thin little strip that you were talking about. Yeah, look at that. He's definitely keeping it down low, and he's amazingly keeping it underneath. So we'll see if that works or not, if he continues to try it in the race proper. Now he's going to come back up high and ride the high line, maybe for some comparison, see if that is quicker. But it amazes me the precision he's able to have in this style of racing.
It really is remarkable, Joe, and we've seen him do that a couple of times. I think it was Kokomo or Fairbury either last season or a couple of years ago. He was able to do that to absolute perfection. It just shows the amazing amount of talent that Brandon Proudfoot has in these heavy, big, lumbering dirt street stocks that he's able to get down to that low line with pinpoint precision.
Certainly not something I have been able to replicate, as we're on board with J.R. Shepard now, coming through 3 and 4. Another one that is looking quite good. He won his heat, since that puts him ahead of Hargraves at the start of the race. Do you think maybe, DJ, he can hold Hargraves behind?
I think, Joe, it's really all just going to come down to that start and to see where JR is able to position the car once this race goes green. That's really what he's going to have to try to do. We see him here following Hargraves, and that's going to be a huge boon to him to be able to keep up behind him, see what Hargraves is trying to run. Also, wouldn't be surprised here if William Hargraves maybe running a little bit of a fake out, running that high line, trying to make JR think that that's where he wants to go throughout the course of the race.
I think that was Robinson there coming down into pit lane. Not huge reason to try and practice pit entry under racing conditions here, as we will get the caution flags in that feature event. So you'll have a chance to try and go in if you do need that spare car, which is the only reason usually we see drivers try and take pit stops here on the dirt side. On board with Wilson now. Still liking that middle line. Playing middle of the road, not looking on either extreme, at least certainly right now. It's only got 20 seconds left. Hargraves currently holding our quickest lap of the warm-up, so he's still got it underneath him, but can he do that consistently over the course of the race so that he doesn't give away the lead?
Well, we will have to see. That's going to be his big challenge, especially with guys like Northcutt, Shepard, and Proudfoot behind him. Rest assured, they are going to be giving him all kinds of pressure.
No doubt about that. Session is done. The checkered flag is out for the warm-up, and now we head to the main event of the night. The feature here and round 8 of the Bootleg Racing League Dirt Street Stock Series. We'll see on the pole, Billy Northcutt. J.R. Shepard will start to his outside, with William Hargraves starting in 3rd. Brandon Proudfoot surprisingly down in 4th. And Bobby Hayes starting from 5th. Joe Segala in the middle of the pack will start from P6.
In P7 is going to be John Wilson, followed by Robbie Robinson in 8th, with Brendan Myers and Ryan Seneker rounding out 9 and 10, with Christopher Shaper coming home in 11th.
I think we've got them all down on the dirt on the front stretch, so we should get going. Yeah, now we're on our way. Wonder if we'll see Bobby Hayes start to move forward, if he can use some of that pace to try and hustle that thing into contention for the victory. Since he's only starting in 5th, it's not like he's got a huge hill to climb in this feature race, and he's certainly got a lot of laps to do it.
Yeah, he certainly does. 40 laps here, and remember, we do get caution, so that has a chance to bunch up the field and not let these leaders get too far ahead.
That's a good point. I hadn't even considered that aspect as well. So we're now on that 2nd pace lap. Billy Northcutt has yet to win. It's been hogged by Hargraves and Proudfoot so far this season. They've got all 7 of the wins. As the pace truck is in, Northcutt is on it. Green flag is out. He's going to be able to step ahead of the second place car, but down low, Hargraves tries to chuck it in. He keeps the overlap to his high side. Shepard still having to defend the long way around, and I think he's going to be able to hold on, at least for the time being, as he crosses the line.
He is indeed. Brandon Proudfoot, though, riding that super high line, trying to get as much momentum as he can. It's kind of halfway working here, but not to the maximum effect that he'd want. Meanwhile, I think J.R. Shepard may have just tagged the wall a little bit there on the inside. Looked like a random slowdown in the middle of the corner, and indeed, Hargraves able to get a full cars like the head.
Oof, already William able to overtake J.R. Shepard. He's got to be kicking himself for that one. He's going to box in Proudfoot behind him, but Brandon is continuing to ride way up high. Look at that rim riding this course. Doesn't seem to have given him any more advantage down towards the pit stops.
No, not necessarily. Really not getting the full effect of it. I think those straightaways just a little bit too short for him. But that battle for P1 really starting to bunch up there, as that is Northcutt getting a full mirrors full of Billy Hargraves.
So top three running low, and instead it's Proudfoot who's trying to run high. Oh, and he is just grazing that outside wall, using everything he can. Hargraves, oh, here he goes. Hargraves starts to get a nose in. Can he get the shot off the corner? Low side doesn't seem to keep momentum going, but it is a shorter distance. He goes way down to the bottom, and that actually seemed to do worse.
Yeah, it didn't help him there. He had a little bit of overcut coming into 3, but wasn't able to keep it through 4. Now Shepard says, anything you can do, I can do better. Tries to do that same line down through 1 and 2. Didn't exactly work out. Proudfoot continuing to run on that super high side. Good run there out of 4 for Hargraves, though. He's at least able to draw alongside.
If we get a caution at the right time, Hargraves can always sneak that lead away. I think Northcutt has to be wary here. Even if he thinks he can beat him to the line every lap, he could lose the lead depending on stuff that is out of his control. Hargraves continuing to bottom feed. J.R. Shepard watching both of them, almost getting up into the 0. No contact between them, but that is looking like this time William Hargraves is done with the pass. He is our new leader with only 30 laps to go, rather.
And J.R. Shepard, thought he was going to get a little bit of the action, but got a little bit sideways through the midpoint of 2. And Brandon Proudfoot certainly recognized that, starts to get a little bit of a move there. J.R. able to keep himself in the action. No, that got too squirrely. Again, though, that tail wiggling out a little bit on the exit of corner 4.
Proudfoot is committed to this high line, and he's going to bang up against the wall. That was a little harder than before. That costs him some momentum. Interesting to see that the 22 is not going where the leaders are going. Now, he hasn't really lost touch with them, but it's also not causing them to gain.
Yeah, he's just kind of resolutely sticking up on that high line. I've got to think, Joe, here at some point during the race, he's going to try to jump down low. He may just be thinking he wants to save as much dirt as he can down on the low line for when he jumps down there with all these 3 guys running it now.
Oof, another tip on the wall from our current champion, who sits at about half a second behind, is Northcutt trying to do the same thing back to William that he did to him. He's poking his nose down low. Doesn't look like he's able to quite get the same overlap that we saw the 71 effect.
No, but he is carrying some good speed into the corner and is able to carry it out pretty well. That gap relatively stabilized as they cross over the line, just really trying to find something, anything. 15 laps in the book, so there's still plenty of time for this track to develop. And I think all of these top 4 drivers just trying to feel out a little bit and make a good calculated effort on what's going to be the best run in the last half of this race.
And we've had no cautions so far. I see Seneker in the pit lane, but I don't really see anything dramatic from him, so I'm not sure if he just wasn't happy with the car and took it down into his stall. Billy Northcutt managing to hold himself firmly in the mirrors of William Hargraves. At least he's making him sweat.
Yeah, he certainly is, but he's not nearly as caught up behind as Hargrave was. And there you can see it in the background. That is Proudfoot making the dive down to the inside line. So maybe this is the charge out of the 22. But for the meantime, a little bit of a better run there for Billy Northcutt. Not able to keep the momentum out of the corner, but now making that 71 sweat all the more.
Billy Northcutt wants this spot back. He wants to get that first win. He knows Hargraves already has two, but William also needs to take as many points as possible, hoping that he can somehow reel in Brandon Proudfoot. Proudfoot's still running in fourth, so it's not going to be the worst of days, but it will at least keep Hargraves in the hunt. We're now officially at the halfway mark, and Northcutt is starting to do exactly what Hargraves did. He's getting an overlap down at the bottom. He just can't finish it.
He is indeed, and I can report that Brandon Proudfoot has made a very rare error, Joe. He clipped a little bit of that inside retaining wall right where we saw Billy Hargraves do the same thing in the heat race. Didn't slow him down as much as it did Hargraves, but definitely kicked the cone down the track.
So, and this time Northcutt actually had a nose ahead, and the time in his scoring showed him in the lead for a brief moment. He's making this work. Oh, he gets really close up to the outside as he tries to widen that entry as much as possible. What can he do? Off of turn two, he is much farther ahead this time. He was paying attention when Hargraves made that move, and here we go. He's going to get by completely as J.R. Shepherd fancies his shot but can't make it stick, and it's going to switch right back. Now Hargraves going to try and push him up high.
And a little bit of side spin there for Billy Northcutt. That may have given an advantage slightly to Billy Northcutt, or William Hargraves to try to fight back here. The other point of contention, that's Christopher Schaefer right up the road from them. That's lap traffic. Normally don't talk about it in this series, but it could play a little bit of a role here.
Oh boy, that is Schaefer trying to stay up high and out of the way of everybody there. You can see him, not many places that you can try and get out of the way. He could lift here if he wants to, but he does not. He's just going to hold high as the others go low beneath him. Top three have been running an incredible pace. They have left Proudfoot in the dust.
There we ride on board with Brandon Proudfoot. You can see the three of them in front. Looks like he has lost touch a little bit here, about a 1.8 second gap ahead of Brandon Proudfoot. That is not a sentence you hear out of the Bootleg Racing League.
Not often anyways. Not sure if he got a little damage or what, as drifting up high, the 98, maybe going to try something different from what those first two are doing on the bottom line, seeing if he could get himself a shot at victory. We're going to be 10 laps to go pretty soon, and the top three can be put under a blanket. This is some of the closest racing we've seen for an entire race that has not seen a single caution.
Oh, it looked for a second there. Billy Northcutt getting very, very sideways coming through the corner, able to gather it up back under him, but he's got to watch that. That car was dangerously close to over-rotation, able to gather it back up. Hargraves continuing to apply pressure here. It looks like they're dropping J.R. Shepherd ever so slightly, but Shepherd able to fight back a little bit here. These truck two can't make too much of a problem for themselves. Otherwise, Shepherd is ready to pounce.
We saw how many laps it took to do that inside move to get by, and that was with a track that wasn't nearly as torn up on that bottom line. Whoa! Almost making contact. Hargraves getting as near to that bumper as he dares without using the chrome horn. But I wonder if this is too little too late. If Hargraves doesn't start attacking now, if he won't be able to complete the pass in time.
You're very right, Joe. We've seen that it normally takes 4 or 5 laps to really be able to both get your nose into that move and fully complete it. So it is now or never time for Hargraves. Shepherd continuing to run a little bit of a diamond line ever so slightly out of the turns, taking a little bit tight on the entry and tight on the exit. There comes Hargraves trying something new. He's going to the outside, trying to carry a little bit of more of momentum.
Inches between them as they run through those corners. There's incredible trust between the 00 and the 71. down through 3 and 4 once again. We come to 6 laps to go now. And they are now 3 seconds ahead of Brandon Proudfoot.
Oh, a little bit of contact there between Northcutt and Hargraves. That forced Hargraves to back off ever so slightly. He's able to get back into it here and really try to keep up the attack, but I think he's a little bit wary of that. They cross the line, 5 to go.
It has been incredibly clean racing despite it being intense up at the front. Look at this, coming down into the corner. They are absolutely nose to tail between each other. Off of the line once again. Hargraves tries to keep his nose in, tries to make sure he can get underneath and force the 0-0 high. Down to 4 laps to go. Oh, he has a bobble though.
I don't know if that was a bobble or if that was contact, but J.R. Shepard certainly saw it. Tries to go back around that high side again, get a little bit of an overlap. He's going to try to force the issue. Oh, J.R. Shepard into the wall!
Almost climbs it. He holds on. He's going to stay in third. That may have taken him out of contention. Hargraves not giving up on things. It's going to be 2 to go. Will anybody get out that chrome horn, or is this going to stay civil as we come down into the first corner? So far, so good. Trying the high line now. It appears that Hargraves going to look for something different. Tiny little touch as they come down the stretch. Almost once again, making a touch to the quarter panel. He does touch this time. Doesn't turn him around. White flag. 1 lap to go. Hargraves is looking desperate. Left and right, but nowhere where he can find a quicker line down through the final corner. And Northcutt has the lead and the victory. His first time this season.
Oh my goodness gracious, absolutely insane racing from these top 3. A little bit of a love tap there from Hargraves, just saying, hey man, that was a great race. Hoi, oi, oi, Joe, I don't know if you get better dirt racing than what we just saw.
Wow. That was the Imola of dirt races, just the way that Northcutt held on under incredible pressure. As he gets to celebrate under the fireworks, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Don't go away. Welcome back to Lanier National Speedway. We just watched round 8 in the Bootleg Racing League's Dirt Street Stock Series, and Billy Northcutt was a new winner this season. Only our third different winner so far. William Hargraves tried to challenge him the entire race, but had to settle for second. J.R. Shepard still looking for that one. He slipped down to third in the end, as Brandon Proudfoot didn't seem to have pace mysteriously out here. He finished fourth. John Wilson was P5 with Bobby Hayes in 6th and Robbie Robinson in 7th. And it's Brendan Myers 8th, Joe Segala 9th, one car lap down, and Christopher Schaefer and Ryan Seneker was a DNF for reasons unknown. As we get ready to talk to Billy Northcutt now about what must have been an incredible amount of pressure that he was feeling inside the cockpit. Billy, that was some amazing racing. What were you feeling inside the cockpit?
Man, I was feeling pretty nervous, but there was no caution, so I was able to just get out there and race. And I mean, I wasn't as nervous as you would think, because I had William behind me, and we practiced and trained together, and he knows that I get a little more sideways than I probably should in these turns when I get nervous. And he was I'm sure he was prepared for that, and never hit me or spun me or knocked me out of the way. There's a lot of guys on this game that would have destroyed me in one of them turns. So I felt pretty comfortable because my best friend was behind me.
Oh man, it was incredible to watch. Now, he managed to get underneath you, take the lead away, and then you pulled the same move back, both of them taking multiple laps. Was his maneuver, did that inform yours, or was that something you knew about before that?
Oh, I think mine was kind of an accident. I mean, he went up high and he stayed there, and I'm guessing that he probably did that because I was kind of entering a little too hard the entire race. I was just a little excited because I've never won a league race before. I've never won a broadcasted race, so I was a little excited. So I was going in a little hotter than I should have about every single turn of the race. He probably went high just so I wouldn't spin him out. he could sense that I was doing that. But once he was on my outside, I was going slower into the turn so I wouldn't hit my friend and teammate, and it actually made me faster. So I was able to get back around him. And then once I got around him, I went right back to just being a wild hyena out there. And a few times I felt like I was going to blow it, but it's really fun racing with him, and I knew he wasn't going to hit me, so I kept trying to calm my nerves. I'm just glad there wasn't a caution to where I didn't have to think about it. You don't get the timeout before the big field goal like you do with the cautions, so it was kind of nice just to run out and kick it and run off.
Well, that surprises me a bit that this was your first time winning on a broadcast, because I could have sworn we had seen you do it once before. I mean, tell us about your emotions. Is this a huge relief?
You don't even know. You feel like I've won one on here before, because I probably should win all the time, it feels like, and I just couldn't get that monkey off my back. I run good, I qualify good, I race good, I race clean, and I respect everybody. Everybody respects me, and it just feels like I probably should have had some wins by now, but it just doesn't work out that way sometimes. But the longer it takes to accomplish something, the more sweet it feels when you do it. And I mean, I feel pretty awesome right now.
I really hope that this is something that you're able to savor, and hope that it opens the floodgates for you. Who would you like to thank for this victory?
First and foremost, I'd like to thank William for driving me clean, because like I said, I'm not dumb on this game. I don't win a lot of these broadcast races, but I know when I'm driving good and when I'm not, and I was getting real kind of sketchy in that one, and I was glad that it was him behind me. Anybody else, and it might have been a little difficult for him to stay off of me there, so I thank him for that, and thank my wife and my dad and my mother-in-law for watching. And I mean, like I said, I've never won one of these broadcasts, and I've ran about 300 of them in different leagues, and they continue to watch every time. Just they don't really care if I win or not, So, but this makes it pretty sweet.
Well, thank you to them for watching as well. That was our winner, Billy Northcutt, who came away with the win today. William Hargraves behind him, his teammate DJ, has caught up with him.
Well, William, we just heard from your teammate and buddy how much fun he had out there racing with you. It just looked like the race to end all races. Talk us through it.
Yeah, man, that was a fun race there, for sure. One of the tighter battles I've been in a while.
Well, I want to take you back a little bit because we thought for sure you were going to run away in that heat race, and it seems like you had a little bit of a disagreement with that inside retaining wall. How much damage did you pick up, and how were you able to sort of fight through it to come home second in that first heat race?
Yeah, I went in there a little hot, and I just completely misjudged where I wanted to enter, and I almost really wrecked the car bad. As far as damage, I don't think it really damaged the car too much. It just little cosmetic stuff there, but yeah, it was pretty wild, and I was pretty fortunate even to survive a second out of that after that. But man, Billy ran a hell of a race there. I'm so glad he got that first win off his back, and hopefully he's going to get a lot more now too.
Well, we'll be watching for it for sure. Now, we get next week off for Memorial Day, but in 2 weeks' time, we head to a little bit of a different track, and that's Volusia. How do you think the Dirt Panda team is going to fare when we head down to the swampland of Florida?
I think that's a track we should be all right at as Dirt Pandas for sure. We've got our fair share of laps in at that track. It's hard to say. I honestly haven't. I don't recall racing a fixed race there. It's going to get slick, so the lines could change for sure. I hope it's a little bit of side by side battle and it don't get top dominant, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I too am hoping that we get some good side by side again. Congratulations again on this well fought second place, and anybody else you'd like to thank for this podium tonight.
Yeah, I just gotta give Billy Northcutt a big shout out again. Hey, man, you drove the wheels off that thing, and that was a lot of fun. Also, good racing there, J.R. Shepard. He was right there in the mix too, and the whole time, and he never lost track of us by any means, and a lot of respect there and good clean racing. I also got to thank all my Dirt Panda Racing teammates, Viv's Retail Liquor, and Wild Bill's Race Designs. And you guys for doing the broadcast. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Well, thank you, William, and we love doing it. That was your second place finisher, William Hargraves, and now Joe Pica's caught up with your third place driver, J.R. Shepard.
JR got to watch all that battling the whole race long. JR, you were right up against them. Do you think there was anything you could have done to get involved in that, or was that the most the car had?
Oh no, I spent 90% of that race just trying to learn what they were doing and where I was a little bit quicker, and tried to make my run those last 5 laps, and just got squeezed a little bit on the straightaway there and chose to wreck myself instead of somebody else. So a little bit frustrating. I don't think I could have won, but I think second was possible, and yeah, I just came up short.
Still got yourself another podium. It's been an incredibly consistent season, even coming into this round in second place in the points. So we're talking about it off air before this broadcast, that we all kind of think that you might be a challenger come next season, but we're impressed with how methodical you've been about your process coming forward and on the dirt side. What has been some of your process in trying to get better? Are there any special things in practice or things you've been studying that have helped the most?
Well, I definitely try to be a student of the sport, especially in disciplines of racing that I'm not familiar with or good at. So I definitely try to study what these guys do and try to learn from it. And I've worked a little bit with some steering wheel settings that make me feel more comfortable. May not be faster, but just make me feel a little bit more comfortable. So yeah, it's just each and every week I'm trying to pick up just a little bit based on what some of the other guys are doing, and then going off of what I feel like I can do with my driving style, which is a little bit different. So it's not easy. These guys are super fast and super hard to race with. So hopefully we'll eventually get there, but it's definitely been a slow process.
Well, it looks like it's been well worth it because you are definitely one of the fast ones now, as the qualifying implies. Are you looking forward to Volusia? I know, me personally, that's always been one of my favorites of the dirt tracks here on iRacing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I really enjoy that track, and I don't know why, but it kind of reminds me of an asphalt short track. So kind of feel a little more at home there, and we'll hopefully go there next week and try to have a decent run, and if nothing else, just give us whatever the car will give us.
That's all you can ask for. Well, congratulations on another podium, JR, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you in 2 weeks' time.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
This is JR Shepard, our last of our interviews. So that brings us to a big thank you to the Bootleg Racing League for bringing us back for another season of coverage of the dirt street stocks. And also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that we've listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support our channel, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because next race will be Volusia, but it'll be Friday, June 4th, taking a week off to celebrate the Memorial Day holiday. That'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern when we are back in 2 weeks' time. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.